Okay, on to step number 18. This one's called Man on the Moon Contrast and Keeping Easy Things Easy. The mental framework to simplify anything. This one has kind of two different parts to it. The first part of this lesson is focusing on one of the 25 cognitive biases. The 25 cognitive biases are things that cause you to make mistakes in your life. Here are the 25 cognitive biases. I'm not sure of who first discovered these, but I first learned about them through this guy right here, Charlie Munger, one half of Berkshire Hathaway here, along with Warren Buffett. And we're focusing primarily on the effects of cognitive bias number 16, the contrast bias. It says, humans tend to make judgments based on comparison instead of evaluating each on its own. People tend to misjudge or make a bad decision in regards to objects, people, and situations based on comparison. It is better to evaluate people and objects by themselves and not by their contrast. So basically that one's just explaining that instead of making decisions based solely off of the merit of one decision or the other, we tend to make the decision based on the comparison of two things next to each other. And Ty goes on to explain how you can use that to your advantage psychologically. We could probably all agree that in the 1960s, putting men on the moon and returning them back to Earth was an amazing achievement, probably extremely difficult. $1 trillion in investment capital, hundreds of thousands of hours of research and practice and rehearsals, thousands of scientists and volunteers and physicists and astrologists all coming together for this one common goal. That was probably pretty difficult to get people on the moon. So compare that to whatever you want to do, and whatever you want to do compared to putting people on the moon should feel much easier. And we go through a few examples right here. A lot of people want to make $1 million a year, but at first maybe they never get started because that seems so overwhelming. But compare making $1 million a year to putting people on the moon, and that should feel much easier. And it's also much easier when you break your goals down, because when you break them down to actionable steps, daily steps, they'll feel a lot less overwhelming. So you want to make $1 million a year, that computes to making $3,000 a day. Lots of people have received a bonus of $3,000 for Christmas at work or whatnot. So you can break that down even further, and that amounts to $300 an hour, assuming you're working 10 hours a day. Lots of people make $300 an hour. Accountants, lawyers, physicians, surgeons, tax people, whoever else. And another example is Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister was the first person, I think, in the early 1930s in one of the Olympics. He was the first person to break the 4-minute mile. And before that, people thought that was impossible. But soon after, like a month or two after, a few other people had also run a mile in under 4 minutes. What changed? Their body certainly didn't change that much in a month or two. Their training regimen couldn't have changed that much. Their equipment couldn't have changed that much. They just felt differently about it because there was suddenly contrast. Although that seemed extremely difficult, now suddenly Roger Bannister had done that and kind of changed people's perspective on what's possible. Another example is kind of along the same lines about fitness. Some people have the goal of losing weight, 50 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it is, starting a working out regimen. Basically you need to at least be working 30 minutes a day. For some people that's already overwhelming, but compare that to when Arnold Schwarzenegger was at the peak of his bodybuilding career and he was working out 6 hours a day. You working out 30 minutes a day compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger working out 6 hours seems much easier. And here's another one Ty gives. It can be intimidating to ask someone out, but asking the local girl at the local coffee shop out compared to asking out 10 Victoria's Secret models is much easier. So compare what you want to do to something extremely more difficult, and suddenly it will seem a lot more doable. Ty says, this may sound cheesy, but it's not. It's a practical mental conversation that changed the way your brain functions. It all works, and it works fast. The second part of this is keeping things simple. He says, people are hectic and frantic. You only get about 3 bursts of glycogen a day, and you better be prepared to capture that inspiration. He asks basically, what are you spending too much time on things that don't matter? He says people continually ask him, "Hey Ty, what car should I get? What color should it be?" And he says, "Why are you wasting your time on what color your car should be when you're not focusing on increasing your income or increasing your health?" He asks, what are the things you can outsource? We kind of mentioned that over the past few steps of outsourcing, but there are certain things that you should outsource because your time is more valuable than the time it would take to complete those tasks. For example, can you hire someone to clean your house? Can you hire a chef to cook your food for you? Can you hire someone to pick up your groceries and maybe your laundry for you? The answer is yes. And his questions at the end of this, there's 3 questions. What's one area or one thing that you fear? And now what's something that you can contrast it with? And the 3rd question is, what is something you've spent 45 minutes a day on that should only take you 10 seconds? Thanks for watching. I'll see you on step number 18. Take care.